All right. So let's talk a little bit about writing. Uh, we're When you're thinking about who you are supposed to be writing for, which is always good to think about who your audience is. Um, I recommend thinking about these guys on your screen. You guys may know Sherlock Holmes, that series that was on a few years ago, House, another series that was on for several years, or you may know of Gordon Ramsay. Um, all of these guys are busy, they're intelligent. They wouldn't necessarily know about the area of psychology that you're studying. They might, they probably don't. And they're highly critical. So when you're writing, imagine that these are the people that you're writing to. These are the folks who are going to read it. If you think about it, that means that you need to get to your point really quick. You need to be very clear. Succinct is important. Don't talk down to them, but you need to explain all of the background for what you're studying, including stuff that at least give an outline of some of the major theories and ideas that go really far back. So really vague outline and then drill down, right? Um, for your papers, as well as for papers or presentations, you want to always use APA style. Um, if there's not a specific style for a presentation, we kind of use the basic structure of a research paper for most presentations. You can switch it up a little bit, but the introduction, let me tell you the background, let me tell you what's going on, here's the research question, methods, results, discussion, pretty straightforward, pretty consistent across most presentations that you'll go to in psych. All right, and so some more recommendations for writing in psychology. The APA style guide is great. It is really useful, not at just saying this is how you format specific things for your references page, but also much more about voice and how you should approach writing, who the audience is, ethics, also thinking about the ways of structuring an argument. So the APA style guide is really important. You want to support every claim you make with a citation. Anything that I say, that is true. This is the case. It needs to be clear whether I am conjecturing, I think, which is less professional and less accepted in psychology, or where I'm getting where's my evidence for that. The other thing, we want to cite originals only. So if there's only a very few cases in which it's okay to say so-and-so as cited in so-and-so else, right? If I am pulling a cite from a textbook and not citing the textbook, but citing one of the studies cited in a textbook, that's how you would technically do it in APA style, Roberts 2001, as cited in Garcia. However, this is seen as lazy, unprofessional, unless there is an argument for not being able to get a hold of the original. If the original is in another language, for example, that might be reasonable. However, cite the original. Go to the original. The next one, you need to discuss your findings in past tense. You should notice that this is done across articles that are published. This seems like a small thing, but it's actually a bigger deal. So one of the reasons for discussing findings in past tense is because it limits the temporal generalization, right? So if I say I did a study where Latin American children in the US collaborated together more than Anglo children in the US, having said collaborated already kind of bars that. In my study, they did this, as opposed to saying Latin American children in the US collaborate more than Anglo-American children. So you see how the second one is all kids everywhere all the time, and the first one is in the thing that I did that one time. Much more true, but also a safer use of generalization, right? I can't speak to what all kids are going to do in 20 years. That's why I will still have a job, hopefully, so that I can figure that out. On the other hand, it's also kind of overstating your point to say all folks everywhere are going to, right? Another one, this is professionalism, but it's also personal pet peeve. When you can, don't start sentences or paragraphs with the names of authors. Start with the ideas. Some of this is about giving away authority, right? You want to keep the audience's attention. You want to let them know that you know and are guiding them through this research. It's distracting to say Roberts found blah, 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 rather than say kids will do this and this, or did this in this kind of a situation, cited Roberts, right? So start with what you want me to know. Give me the idea. This is a much stronger way of writing. Please try to do that. Another thing is use the appropriate level of detail. We'll talk about this a little bit more in a second too, but not every study needs to be described in depth. Sometimes all you need is, as found by Garcia, 2010. Other times you need to say, okay, so what did Garcia do? How many participants? What was their methodology? If I'm commenting about what they did, how they found it, particularly if I'm interested in anything about methodology, I need to tell you that. I need to explain what they did. Otherwise, I don't need to know. Addendum to that, thinking about your audience, one of my friends always says, imagine that you're writing to a very cranky 11-year-old, because you don't want to let them get sidetracked. No tangents. Keep them very focused. Any extra information may be derailing their thoughts. So keep them on what you want them to focus on. And then lastly, don't discuss your personal journey of how you understood the concept or how you did the literature review. We need to, in the methods, talk about what exactly we did with participants. So there's a little bit of personal journey in that part. However, when we're talking about the literature, keep it to the literature. These folks found. This is, as opposed to, I was interested in trying to understand what it's like to be a homosexual person in the military, and so I looked up homosexuality, and then I looked up military service, and I just tell me what you found. I don't want to see how you get there, right? So this also helps you to be more succinct, but again, you've got that audience in your head, Gordon Ramsay, get to it, come on, right? Okay. So a word here about plagiarism. I'm not going to belabor this. As grad students, you've probably seen this elsewhere. Plagiarism, because social scientists base our careers on our research record, this is really robbery. It is claiming other people's work, and it's hard work, as your own. So it is important to avoid plagiarism. And one of the ways that you can do that is just make sure that it's clear when you read a sentence where the ideas came from, if they're yours, if they're theirs. I also find it's helpful if you are struggling with paraphrasing ideas to put whatever you've been reading or the original that you're trying to cite away. Don't look at it. Put it somewhere away, and then try to put it in your own words. Try to tell it to somebody else outside of that particular context, not when you're looking at it right there in front of you. Okay, so some keys for getting started writing. You want to know what your message is. Know what you want to tell me. What is the outline? Where are you trying to get me to? What's your argument for the piece? Because of this, a lot of folks write their introduction last. or sketch out some ideas based on an early lit review that helps frame their research and their research question, and then go back and edit significantly, right? Because you don't know how to set up the story you're telling across the research article unless you know where you're ending, right? The next piece is to collect and synthesize your references. So this means I'm going to analyze and integrate multiple different sources of support. There's in the slides, I'm not gonna talk through them, but in the slides there's an example, a couple of examples of how you might do this. The message for this intro should be a research question and the literature review needed to substantiate that question. What do people need to know to understand why you want to ask the question, why it's important, but also what you're talking about, right? If I am asking a question about attachment, I need for folks to have thought through and understood what that is, or what that concept is, what that theory is, how people have looked at it, in order to understand how I am going to perceive it and categorize it, operationalize it for my study. Some ways to collect and synthesize references are you can diagram things out. So this is without too much strict rules. Say what you are reading as main sentences in a lot of the different research that you're finding, and then write arrows or draw hierarchically how they might relate to one another. The second one, this is one I like a lot. Explain your idea to somebody who's not a psychologist or is not versed in that area of psychology. Try to explain to somebody who's never thought about this particular option before, this particular topic before. When you do that explaining, make sure to pay attention not only to how you abbreviate your description of the topic, because you'll need to abbreviate, right? They're not there for like the full 15 pages. But also think about what their questions are. Note what they're asking. Oh, wait, so is attachment only kids at a young age? Oh, wait, so is attachment only moms and babies? It's not dads? Oh, could attachment also be about siblings? Right, so notice what they're saying. And then that may help you to reframe how you explain what you're talking about, right? Oh, yeah, well, I don't want them to think it's only a kid thing. I have to talk to them about Bowlby, and I have to talk to them about Strange Situation, but I don't want them to think that it's only babies that I'm talking about. Okay, well, how do you frame it from the beginning so that they don't get lost down that path, right? Another one, this is harder than it seems, but also really useful to synthesize or kind of draw connections across readings, is to write a 1 to 2 page summary of what you've learned on a particular topic within your area of research. Abbreviating shorter assignments can actually be harder. If you're trying to get at the meat of what's really good, getting it down to something really short is hard. Okay, the rest of what I've got in this slideshow is basically examples of how you can use your writing and voice to move from so-and-so said, so-and-so said, so-and-so said, and having that kind of a structure for an introduction, to kind of ownership of the ideas and being able to discuss across multiple authors what is the knowledge in the field, which is the goal. All right.